Describe an online video where you learned something new. You should say when and where you watched it, what it was, why you watched it, and explain what you have learned from it.
So, a while back, I came across this really interesting video on YouTube. I think it was last year, during one of those evenings when I was just browsing online, looking for something useful to watch. The video was from a channel called The Infographics Show, and it was about what happens to your body when you eat sugar. I clicked on it mainly because, well, I've always been curious about how food affects our bodies, especially sugar. We all know it's not the healthiest thing, but I wanted to understand exactly why that is. Plus, the channel presents information in a really engaging way, using simple visuals and animations, which makes even complex information easy to understand. The video explained everything in such a clear manner. It covered how sugar is processed in the body, starting from the moment you eat it. Apparently, when we consume sugar, our blood sugar levels spike really quickly, which gives us a burst of energy. But soon after, there's this crash that makes you feel tired or even moody. On top of that, it talked about how consuming too much sugar regularly can lead to weight gain, heart problems, and even issues with your brain. What I learned from that video has definitely changed the way I think about food in general and sugar in particular. Now, I try to cut back on sugary snacks, and I'm more mindful of how much sugar I consume daily. And I think it's just amazing how much something as simple as a video can impact my whole lifestyle.
Describe a person who always has strong opinions. You should say who this person is, how you knew him, her, why you think she is an opinionated person, and explain how you feel about him, her.
All right, so one person who definitely has strong opinions is my friend Tom. I've known him for, I think, around 5 years now. We met back in university, and we've stayed pretty close ever since. One thing that really stands out about Tom is his love for Japanese manga. He's absolutely obsessed with it, and he's never shy about letting people know what he thinks, especially when it comes to his favorite series. Now, I say he's outspoken because whenever we talk about manga, or when I see his posts on social media, he's always got something to say. And it's never just a casual comment, you know? He really dives deep into why a certain storyline is brilliant or why a particular character is badly written. He'll argue passionately about the art styles too. And honestly, he could go on for hours. He's even been known to start long debates online, responding to anyone who disagrees with him. The thing is, while some people might find this kind of intense, I actually admire his passion. It's clear he's genuinely knowledgeable about manga, and I think that's why he has such strong opinions. On the flip side, though, it can be a bit overwhelming at times because he doesn't really back down in an argument. But to be fair, it's also what makes our conversations interesting, as I usually end up learning a lot from him. So, yeah, even though Tom can come across as quite assertive, I appreciate his confidence in expressing what he believes. It shows how much he cares about the things that matter to him, and I respect that.
Describe a type of favorite food that you ate at special events. You should say what this type of food is, where you had it, how to make this type of food, and explain why you like it.
One type of food I absolutely love and that I often have at special events is kimbap. It's a popular Korean dish made from rice, vegetables, and sometimes meat, all rolled up in seaweed. I usually get to eat it at cultural festivals or food fairs, where there's always a stall selling freshly made kimbap. It's not only delicious, but also convenient to eat, especially when you're walking around at a busy event. The first time I tried kimbap was at an international food festival in Ho Chi Minh City. I remember being curious about it because it looked similar to sushi, but the flavor is totally different. It's less about raw fish and more about different fillings like pickled radish, carrots, spinach, and beef or tuna, depending on what you like. As for how it's made, it's actually quite simple. First, you cook the rice and season it with sesame oil and a bit of salt. Then you spread the rice evenly on a sheet of seaweed, and you lay out the fillings on top: vegetables, meat, or eggs. After that, you roll it all up tightly using a bamboo mat, and once it's done, you slice it into bite-sized pieces. Now, why do I like kimbap so much? Well, I think it's a combination of things. First, the taste is amazing because it's a perfect mix of textures and flavors, crunchy, savory, and a little sweet. Also, it's really healthy compared to a lot of other snacks you find at events. But I also like how it feels like a little treat whenever I have it at these festivals. It always makes the experience more memorable for me.
Describe a time that answer phone call from person who you don't know in public place. You should say where it happened, what he, she said, how you corresponded, and explain how you felt about the experience.
So, this happened a few months ago while I was in a busy cafe. I was sitting there, enjoying my coffee and scrolling through my phone when suddenly, I got a call from an unknown number. Now, usually I don't pick up calls from numbers I don't recognize, but for some reason, that day I answered it. As soon as I said hello, the person on the other end introduced themselves as a representative from some bank. He immediately started talking about a new credit card they were promoting. I could barely catch what he was saying because the cafe was noisy. And on top of that, he was speaking really fast. Honestly, I wasn't interested at all, but he just kept pushing, going on about how the card had amazing benefits and low interest rates. At first, I tried to be polite, saying I wasn't interested and that I didn't really need another card, but he didn't seem to get the hint. After a few minutes of listening to his sales pitch, I had to cut him off. I told him I was in a public place and couldn't talk. And after that, he finally let me go, although he did ask if he could call me later, which I didn't agree to. To be honest, the whole experience was quite frustrating. I get that it's their job to promote these products, but I found it a bit annoying, especially because it felt intrusive, happening in such a public setting. After the call, I was just left feeling a bit irritated, and I've made a point of avoiding unknown numbers even more since then.
Describe a person who likes to read a lot. You should say who he or she is, how you knew he or she, what does he, she read, and explain why you think he or she likes to read a lot.
One person I know who absolutely loves to read is my sister. I've known her my entire life, obviously, but it was pretty clear from a young age that she was really into books. She's always been the type who would rather spend her free time reading than doing anything else. Most of the time, she reads fiction, and she's a huge fan of fantasy novels. Her favorite series is Harry Potter, and I remember when she first got into it, she couldn't put the books down. She'd stay up late reading and would even sneak in some reading time during meals. Besides Harry Potter, she also enjoys other similar fantasy series, like The Lord of the Rings and Percy Jackson. Sometimes she even reads more niche fantasy novels that I've never even heard of. I think the reason she likes reading so much is because it helps her escape reality. You know, fantasy books really take you to another world, and for her, that's fascinating. She's told me before that when she reads, she feels like she's a part of the story, and that's something she finds really exciting. Plus, she loves how reading allows her to use her imagination, especially with the kind of books she's into, where the world building and characters are so vivid and detailed. I feel like reading is a huge part of her personality. It's how she relaxes and enjoys herself. And frankly, I think it's a great habit because it not only entertains her, but also helps improve her knowledge and creativity.